Hello, sir.
So yeah, good afternoon. Wait, I'm going to share my screen now. Oops. Wait here. Hello. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Wait. Okay, so yeah, good afternoon, sir, and everyone. So I find it hard to actually monitor the comments because I'm using this OBS thing, and then I'm also using a dual screen. So it's difficult to see your I don't know if you see the entire screen, or let me check on my phone first. Sir Randy, makita nimo sir ang whole screen, sir?
Yes. Klaro, klaro kaayo.
Yes, yes,
Motion
sir.
graphic.
It's claro.
Gaila ra.
Okay, dili na ako makita ang comments. Wait, sir.
Sige, take your time,
Okay,
sir.
nag-OBS mo ko.
OBS? Saan na yung OBS? OBB matong ganina. Kang lay sa OBB. Na po yung OBS. Panaghan ba niya kung horizon ginuko, Lord?
May ano inabot na jargon, sir, for script writing. It's okay.
Basta kayo kung bawa ng OBB man to. Nakaroon
Okay,
OBS.
so the analyzer, makita na ako. But dili na ako mabasa ang inyong mga questions. Okay, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Genesis Mildizon, and then I am currently teaching at Nueva Estrella National High School, and it's actually a great opportunity to discuss this motion graphics topic, and then at the same time the graphic design thing to people like you, and then to people in the supervisors in our division. So I'm thrilled, and I'm very excited to discuss this topic to everyone. So yeah, my topic for this afternoon is motion graphics. So graphic design, it is a visual compositions that communicate ideas through design, images, color, layout, text, shapes, and figures. So mo na siya ang graphic design, di ba? Kung naman tayo mga graphic designers dinhi, naman tayo mga video editors dinhi sa Google Meet karon. So kahibaw na mo og unsa ang graphic design, unsa ang atong task hibali as graphic designer, as motion graphics designer pud para mahimo nga mas mahatag nato or ma-share nato ang gusto ma-share nato ang gusto nato mahiingon sa atong mga learners. Okay. So this is an example of a graphic design. As you can see here, if you're an illustrator, I'd like you to follow this simple but yet very important thing. Like for example, this one, we have to red. Okay, so as you can see here, I don't know if you see the pen on the presentation. As you can see, there is a teacher here, and then full shot of a teacher, and then this one is the background, the kitchen, and then these are the kitchen utensils. So these graphic designs, these things are in the script. So we have to base our graphic design to the script, and then we have to make sure that this one is on a different image, and then this one. So it should not be like this one, because we can reuse these utensils in our next presentations. So yeah, this is how we do it. And then as you can see here, this is the complete the complete image of the okay, this is the complete image of the design that the scriptwriter wanted us to make. So this one, and then this is what we did in our output. So as you can see here, this one is a different. This is the example of. This is the example that I used because it has different frames. It has 7 frames, and then I just combined all the 7 frames into this one. This one. Oh, sorry. This one. So this is the final output. So if we're going to play this one.
Ano naman ang babasa?
So as you can see here, this one is the first frame, and then this one is the second frame, this one is the third frame, and then this one is the fourth, and then here is this one is the fifth frame, and then this one is the sixth frame, and then the last frame is the comics word here. So we're gonna play this video.
Ano naman ang babasahin na ito kung saan nakikita si Darna? Ang galing! Ito nga ay isang comics. Maliban kay Darna, nakilala rin dito sina Captain Barbell, Panday, at marami pang iba.
Okay. Oops. Okay, so sa nakita ninyo, naa si Zay pito ka frames nga ato ra siyang gitibo sa usa ka video sa final output kinali. So nag-base pud ta, nag-base pud ko ining akong final output dinhi, nag-base ko sa kanang script gikan sa atong script writer. Okay, so mo ni ang atong script. For example kini. Okay? So ang script hingon siya nga ang teacher, di ba, ang atong first nga gipakita ninyo is ang kanang full body sa teacher pero kuha na siya, gi-flip ra siya horizontally. Kaya ba na ini ang mga graphic designer. Gi-flip ra siya horizontally, and then ang isa pong kining background, ang kitchen, gi-flip ra pod siya horizontally, and then gidugangan na siya og mga kitchen utensils, mga dishes or dishwashing liquid o kini siya. Okay. So pwede ra ta makabutang og kanang pwede ra ta makabutang kibali og unsa ang gusto nga ipabutang sa atong scriptwriter. Okay? So gikat ang teacher, medium shot, and then normal angle. So normal is ang angle, and then insert text, insert graphics 1, graphics 2, overlay, and then half body of a teacher, and then background, the kitchen, and then the graphics here, graphics 1, dishes, and graphics 2, dishwashing liquid. So this is what we did here. So as you can see, teacher at the center of the board background. No, it's here. Teacher on the left side, and then board background. So there's a blackboard here, and then there's a graphic overlay, which is comics, and then here also we have this graphic overlay, which is comics. So we're going to play this one. And then this is the script that they have to follow. Okay, and then this one also. So kindly watch this video.
Ano naman ang babasahin na ito kung saan nakilala si Darna? Ang galing! Ito nga ay isang comics. Maliban kay Darna, nakilala rin dito sina Captain Barbell, Panday, at marami pang iba.
See? So everything nga everything nga naa sa script kinahanglan nga imong ipahaom sa nag sign language o nagstorya o ang audio aning o ang final audio aning nagstorya kibali o ang isang gusto nga ipabutang sa sa screen. So naay comics o napoy word nga comics here, and then ang kinahanglan nga ang music pod kibali kon sa kanang muhaom pod sa ug unsa ang tono sa atong teacher, dili kay magpahitaka ra tag butang og kanang tawag ng sound. Okay, so murag ko paan pa ko gamay. Okay, so here the next topic is the motion. Okay, so the next topic is the motion graphics. Okay, so motion graphics is specialized in providing motion to graphic design. So when we say motion graphics, we're giving life to the graphic design. Okay, so we're atong palihok-lihokon ang pili nato nga graphics kay para mas ganahan ang atong mga learners. Okay, so you have to take note of that thing. And the next one here, motion graphics is animation but with text as a serious component of videos to share information. Okay? And then motion graphics can make your message more engaging and entertaining. Okay. So, ako mong pakit-on sa sunod nga mga slides, ako mong pakit-on og unsaon nato pagpalihok sa, for example, sa logo, unsaon nato pagpalihok sa logo nga mura sa mas ganahan ang mga estudyante or bisan og ang mga mananaway. So motion graphics, it often represents animated shapes, logos, and other texts. So sa atong mga text pod, pwede nato nga palihokon ang atong mga text. So if nagamit mo og Adobe Premiere and Adobe After Effects, then I can share you the premium motion graphics nga akong gipalit atong last week. So yun na. So naay animation, mag-create ta og mga animated shapes, logos, and other texts. And then is commonly used to create ads, titles, information sharing, and etc. Okay. So nakabantay mo anang naay mga video ads nga arang kaganahon sila tan-awon pag tan-aw na to sa atong newsfeed, pag kita na to nga naay mga motion graphics, naay mga nag-animate nga mga shapes of titles, ganahan ta mo click ang ads. And then ang motion graphics pod para pwede ko na siya mag-kuan information, mag-share ta og information, and etc. Texts are the main content of these graphics, and by giving animation to the text and adding audio, motion graphics are created. So simple na siya nga mga graphics, mga shapes. Unsa kung ato na siyang butanan kibali og animation, ang kuan niya mas ganahon tan-awon kung naa na siya tan-ingon na siya gi-combine ang graphic design ug motion graphics. Okay. Uses of motion graphics. First is information sharing. So if you are trying to transfer information to the audience or to your learner, then this will help you to do that in an easy and effective way. E bisan og simple lang nga pagpalihok-lihok sa kamot sa usa ka drawing, mas ganahan na ang atong mga learners, mas ma-amaze na sila. Next is video titles. So before starting a video, the title is shown with the help of motion graphics. It is created to impress the audience and make it look more attractive. So naay mga video titles nga atong pwede nato himuon as motion graphic designers. Pwede nato himuon kibali para mas makuha nato ang attention sa atong mga learners or sa atong audience. Kay naa sa study na kinahanglan nato kuhaon ang attention sa atong learners within 3 seconds. Kay mao na nang ilang mas shorter karon ang attention span sa atong mga estudyante. So karon aho mong pakit-on sa example sa ahong kibali sample sa ahong hinimo nga kuan, sample sa ahong hinimo nga video titles sa among gihimo nga video for the region. Okay? So mo ni si Za. Purya saway lamang. Okay. So as you can see here, as you can see here, naa si Za ang atong title sa atong video. Filipino 8, iba't ibang estratehiya sa pangangalap ng mga ideya. Gibutangan po na diri og Isdeo, Siargao. Next sample here, mao po nihong next nga span gihimo. Okay, so kung inyong mabantayan, lain-lain ang mga shapes, na yung mga shapes sila, unsa ako ra sang ipalihok-lihok kibali. So, different colors, di ba? Mo ra sang makuan kibali. Mo ni primero namo mga salitang gamit sa komunikatibong informal. So, mga shapes, palihok ko na nimo ang mga shapes kibali kay aron mas ganahan ang atong mga estudyante makuha ang ilang attention. So, yun na ra. Dahil na ka-simple. Okay. Next is here, motion graphics. So logo graphics na punta. So logo graphics can be made more attractive by adding animations to it. So, di ba ka ng mga logo nga maglihok-lihok, mga ganahan ta, tanaw. Yung simple nga logo sa itong eskwelahan, o kanang mas ma-attract ta o naay mga animations nga atong naay mga animation nga gibutang sa graphic designer or sa motion graphics designer. So, for example kini, simple ra nga logo sa DepEd Siargao ahong gihimuan kini sa animation. Okay. So nabantayan ninyo kung ano sa kanang ihaw lang gipa-move kibali ang different shapes kana. So mga graphic designer kahibaw na ini different pa-move ang different shapes, different lines, okay? Different lines of different kanang mga dots og naay sa text and then gikuan na ang logo. So bisan og simple ra nga pag-animate inana raw gikuan sa and then na buo na siya, so mas ma-attract ang atong mga audience. Next example, akong gihimo nga logo for the Caraga region. Here. So mo na hizaan sa Caraga region. So grabe ra ka simple, different shapes gihapon, gipalihok-lihok ra na ang logo kana, lihok-lihok ra ang logo gamit ang After Effects. And then gikuan mo na og shape, duha ka shapes kibali og gipa kuan sila o in opposite direction. So inana ra lines, okay? So different lines kay para mogwapa sila ang atong logo. So mo na ang gihimo sa Caraga region nga logo. Okay. So inana. So na mo yung mga pangutana mo, ask ka mo na after ani. Excuse me. Okay, so motion graphics here. Graphics that are in movement or animation that produce the illusion of gesture, action, and movement. Okay. So, mao po ni ang atong example nga akong ihatag ninyo. Illustrations, kini nga illustration gihimo ni John Merrick Cifra. Okay, so nabantayan ninyo na as green screen. Green screen diri, okay? Unsa diri pud sa white ra. So kinahanglan as illustrator, kinahanglan nga butangan gazud nimo og green ang background. Kay para mas dali sa video editor nga pangbutang palihok-lihok ko ni nga image, okay? Mas dali nga palihok ko na nga image og butangan og background ug unsa ang gusto sa atong script writer. Okay? So kung unsa ang nasa script, for example, bata nga naa sa kitchen. So ang imong ibutang di kailangan ka magbutang din na kitchen sa likod kay para magamit-gamit pa nimo ni unsa imo ra kang butangan sa og green nga background. Kay para pag edit sa video mas dali ra kan dadon siya. Okay? So muna no sa mga illustrators kinahanglan nga naay separate kibali kinahanglan nga green gazud ang background sa illustrations. For example, kini sa among gibuhat. So nakabantay mo, green ang background ni Sir Ryu here, and then tan-aw diri nato is waya na say background. So mas dali ra kada zone edit nato ang video kung for example ato nang i-play.
Ano naman ang hinay ito? Sa hinay ito, nakilala si Darna! Ang galing! Ito nga ay isang comics. Maliban kay Darna, nakilala rin dito sina Captain Barbell, Panday, at marami pang iba.
Okay. So ingon adto ang ingon ani ang atong gibuhat sa green background si Ma'am Charmin, duha ka frames ni unsa green background kini pud siya isa ka frame guni siya unsa gibutan nato green background kay para ato orang ma-insert ug asay gusto sa scriptwriter ug unsa nga background ang ibutang sa scriptwriter. So inana so mag-base ita sa script. So sa mga video editors kinahanglan we have to carefully follow the script, and then sa script writers adjaw pa himuadaan ang video editors og videos kung waya pa script kay dili basta-basta mag-edit sa videos. Grabe ka lisod kung waya script kibali ra magtaga-taga arkibali ang video editors dili man na pwede. So kinahanglan para gana ang quality kinahanglan nga video editors kinahanglan we have to follow the script, and then script writers, content editors, please adjaw ina nga paghimo na ng video bisag waya pa may nahuman sa script. So pwede ra sila unahon ang motion graphics kadtong mga unahon ang katong mga logos, mga tawag anang katong sa opening banner, okay, opening billboard. So ikaw ang opening billboard kibali. So mo to itong mga unahon mga video editors o sa graphic designers. Okay. Next is kini adding a blur effect on the background. So for example, okay, since we already use this thing and then you want to emphasize a message from a teacher, so you can blur the background. So mo na sa simple kibali man na sa atong mga graphic designer kahibaw na mo nga kini siya gi-overlay ra nato ni sa gibutang nato ni sa imabaw aning sa kining background, and then pwede na nato ta mag-blur effect sa kining kining likod aning badge or picture, and then magbutang tag call out here, and then magbutang na dun ta og text. Pwede pud nato animate ang text nato. Okay, so again yeah, that's how we can blur or add blur effect on our background. So yeah, that's all. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you learn from me, and then I appreciate if you will ask questions, and then I'm willing to answer every question that you have in mind. So thank you so much for this opportunity to present this motion graphics topic to all of you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Sir Genesis, for that very comprehensive presentation about graphics, motion graphics design, or ano bang tawag dyan. And then we may call on the participants to ask questions regarding the topic of Sir Genesis. The table is open for that, and we will accept queries about the motion designing and all. Thank you. So any questions about the topic of Sir Dison? You can type it in the chat box, and we will read it, or you can unmute your microphone para magbigay ng mga katanungan hinggil sa mga hindi naintindihan, o kung mayroon mang gusto pang i-clarify, just direct it to Sir Genesis, unmute your microphone and ask question. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll be happy to answer your questions. Kindly ask questions. What particular applications are imong gigamit ana? Okay, so I use Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Premiere, and then Adobe After Effects. Sir, all video output dapat animated and background o pwede real setting and everything. Yes, yes, you can use the real setting, pero mas gana kung animated para mas kuan ang atong mga kuan. What software you are using in editing the video? I use Adobe Premiere.
Adobe Premiere. So meaning kung halimbawa, sir, wala po kaming Adobe Premiere, ano po yung another suggested software na kung hindi man anong tawag dito, makaapas sa Adobe Premiere, because I think Adobe Premiere is quite higher. Oo. Kung wala po wala pong ganyan ang aming computer, ano po yung maisa-suggest ninyong application for that matter?
Yes, great question. So, unsay akong masuggest, you can use Filmora. There are free Filmora crack that you can ask from Liza. And then, ang Adobe Premiere.
Anong from Liza?
Ang Adobe Premiere mas lisod ang Adobe Premiere o dili ang laptop kanang hinay-hinayon ang laptop. Mga moabot zigzag mga 20 hours mag-render. Free, sir, to download. So yes, just a bit of disclaimer. So I don't normally suggest nga mag-crack nga mga Adobe Premiere, pero the reality is mahal ang Adobe Premiere, and I'm using Adobe Premiere nga crack na version. Pero dapat unta magpalit gyud. Questions. Another question here. Is there a time limit for motion graphics? So what do you mean to say? So to say here, there's no limit with there's no time limit for motion graphics as long as you are following the script. So you have to make sure that you follow the script. Like for example, kung mo isang giingon mo po imong buhaton, dili ingon magpahibutang na lamang kag magpalihok-lihok din na without following the script. Pwede din mo ma-share and crack dyan on Adobe Premiere. I would love to share the crack, but I'm using MacBook Pro, so it would be difficult. Or if you're using MacBook Pro, then I can share it to you. Other question.
Any more questions directed to Sir Genesis? From the 72 participants, especially to the graphic editor, video editors, naka-assign sa video editing, you can ask questions now. Waya may pangutana kay naglibog na sa graphics. What do you mean, Sir Lutzi? Sir, can we have an actual training on making the motion graphics right after COVID from Victor Quaresma from ALS department? Okay, Sir Victor, I asked also the same question to the regional office to have another webinar exclusively for video editing, but sad to say, the regional people failed us to, or anong tawag dito, parang wala pa silang resources to implement what we asked, what we requested. Kasi ayon sa kanila, kulang sila sa mga, anong tawag dito, resources ba yun or mga kwarta ba kung sabay angay nilang buhaton. So maybe you can ask from your friends on video editing kung meron man kayo, and that's the thing that ito na talaga ang pinaka magandang initiative para makagawa tayo ng video lesson. Okay? So wala po tayong magagawa diyan. Any more?
Okay, so we have here from Sir Charles, kung first time user ng Premiere Video Kuti, siya kung amoy gamiton kay sa ibang editors. Yes, lisod kaadyo kung Adobe Premiere ang unaho ang atong start kay nag-start ko og Vegas Pro. So mas gana pud ang Vegas Pro way back sa panahon pa ni Ma'am Rial. So Vegas Pro among gamit. And then mas friendly siya, Filmora mas friendly siya sa mga video editors. O sa katong regarding sa motion graphics, ang sa motion graphics mo good, you can learn, YouTube is your best friend here. So motion graphics, video editing, naidaghan sa YouTube. Okay? Pwede kami mo gamit ng other video. Yes, you can use other video editing softwares nga mas dali ninyo mga koan. Questions?
Okay. Any more questions? Si Sir Lutsi na si Zadili na, ma'am. Okay, okay lang po. Hindi po namin alam na yung Lutsi pala sa inyo ay lalaki. Sa amin kasi yung Lutsi is female. Okay. Sorry po. Okay, any more? Si Sir Roxel, si Sir Lutsi Jaon, according to Ma'am Sandra. So, yan na. Kabalo na. Sir Henry, you are assigned as scriptwriter. Your video editor, I think somebody from the ALS also. I think si Victor Quaresma is content editor. Yun lang. Kung hindi po niyo alam yung video editing, wag po kayong mag-alala. Mayroong gagawa niyan. Thank you. Next.
Job ka ng After Effects, pero mas lisod na o After Effects. Pero sa different ka na sigurado, different video here. Kaya napas Ma'am Charmaine. The actual training and this whatever the present tools or software you have right now. Let me share. Let me see.
Siguro what Sir Quaresma mean is the present software, pwede bang ma-share? Sir Genesis? Parang di, no?
I have here the cracked version for MacBook Pro or MacBook. Then I'd love to share if you have, if you're using that one. But if you're using Windows laptop, then it could be difficult or it's different.
Okay, according to Sir Harold, we will provide link for video editing softwares. Good, Sir Harold. When? Kailan ba yung link? Bukas or now na? Sige. So do not worry video editors. If ever wala po talaga tayong mga software na gaya ng sinabi ni Sir Genesis, yung kaya lang po natin. Anyway, I suggest or wag po nating i-over-imagine. Wag po nating wag po nating guba-guba. Sabi pa ng iba diyan, na di nato guba-gubaon ang atong video editing. Kung ano lang yung skill na nandoon lang nandoon sa atin, or kung ano lang yung skill na nasa inyo, yun lang ang ating gagamitin. Wag na natin kopyahin pa yung iba na hindi na po natin kaya for now. So, I understand some of the video editors are beginners, and so if ever di nyo kaya yung instruction from the video script, anong tawag dito? Production script, let the script writers alam niya na hindi nyo kaya ang mga pinagsasabi ng mga script writers para maka-adjust din sila. That's why in the next 2 days, in the next days na magkaroon kayo ng tawag na mag-convene po kayo para magkaalaman na kung ano ba dapat o di dapat na gagawin ni script writer na makaya ni video editor. Yun lang po, para magkaintindihan tayo, para magkaroon tayo ng magandang output na hindi nagkalarlaran ang buong team, the all members. Okay? Sige.
And also, sir, I'd like to add, I assume that majority of us here are ICT coordinators, and then we have this Kobe laptop, then that could be of great help in editing the video using Adobe Premiere, and then Illustrator and After Effects.
Okay, any more? So that we can proceed for the next session. It's 1:54 pa.
Sir, pwede isa ra ato intro or video title para isa outputs. So ang atong kanini, Sir Carlo, ang atong kanini is nag-search ta og kanang mga motion graphics designer o video editors. Unsa kibalik ka mo ni magpaigo og unsay gusto sa inyong script writer, unsay gusto mahitabo sa inyong team. Kibali. So, mas gana si o kanang isahon nato, pero magdepende man sa inyong script o sa inyong team. Kung sa inyong gusto. Kaya na may uban, for example, sa math, butangan nila og mga numbers. Dili sila ganahan ng lines and shapes, gusto nila nga numbers. Sa mape, for example, gusto nila og mga kanang mga notes ang ipagbutang kibali sa ilang logo. So, yun ana. So, magdepende sa inyong team. Yes.
Rochelle Toldo, mas gana sab if lahi-lahi ang video title, sir, kay lahi-lahi man ato topic. What do you mean by this, ma'am? Ano yung title na sinabi mo? Okay.
Okay, so I think we have may mga questions, and then Ma'am Charmaine is ready, and then she's really excited to discuss her topic for this afternoon. So yeah, I'd like to thank everyone, and then I'm hoping that you can do your best, and then you can have a great output for our division. So thank you so much, Randy, and to the rest of the team. Thank you. Bye.
Wow, thank you very much, Sir Genesis. A virtual applause to our second speaker for his topic, motion designing, motion graphic designing. Okay, clap po. Thank you very much, Sir Genesis, for sharing your skills. Okay, marami na nag-applause. Ang dami sila. Hindi po ako marunong mag-applause. Clap lang. Pareho kami ni Ma'am Julieta. Clap lang. Okay, so I think Sir Genesis, can you share a portion, a 1/4 portion of our output?
Yeah, sure, sir.
mga 3 minutes so that they have their anong tawag dito kanang sa paingan ana makalimot ko usahay kanang basta ana sila
Idea.
idea nga mao day ni mahitabo ang katuraan ng first 10 frames for now. Sige.
Noted, sir. Noted, sir.
Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a moment from now, we are watching sa output nga gisubmit sa Siargao team sa regional webinar for video production last week. And then, fortunately, this output landed first place Kintahay kaya di ako ilang mga girank nila. And then let's see. Pero anong tawag dito? Sa Porniro pa, murag sa nag-craft pa ang mga kuan. Sir, this is mag-ingon na ka og ready na ha. Nag-craft pa sila sa ilang output to be presented. Murag ni-discriminate na gadzud ko anay adto because of the time. Imagine gihatag ang script hapon man to mga 5, di ba, Ma'am Lai? And then kinahanglan i-present pagkaugma. O sa junan ka so ingon na ko ana nga wa na gadyoy mahitabo nga presentation sa Siargao team tungod sa kagamay sa time nga gihatag. Pero wa gid lang damha nga grabe di ay ka positive minded unsang tawag na to ana nila nga nakapresent ko dun sila. And here is now the output, the first trans kumbaga. Okay, go.
Okay na, sir.
Magandang umaga sa inyo, mga mag-aaral. Narito panibagong episode ng ating Filipino 8 video lesson para sa ikatlong markahan. Siya nga pala, ang module na ito. Kaya dapat na nakatuto kayo at hanggang sa huling bahagi. Ako nga pala si Teacher Charmaine. Ako, excited na rin. Natiti ako na magugustuhan ninyo ang ihahanda namin para sa inyo. Ang pamagat ng module natin ngayon ay iba't ibang strategy. Paalala lang, ugaliing maghugas ng mga kamay bago at pagkatapos gamitin ang inyong mga module o anumang gamit sa gawaing pampagkatuto. Lagi nating tandaan na ligtas ang malinis na katawan. Mga bata,
Okay.
paano ba
So yun lang muna na. Stop muna Sir Genesis, yun lang muna ang ating ipapakita and then we will have to continue this tomorrow for another complete presentation of the output. Because we will have another speaker, Ma'am Charmaine, discussing about the production script. Ma'am Liza? Please
Sir?
introduce.
Yes, sir. So I will be introducing our next speaker, who will be discussing the guide in developing the content and creating inclusive videos. So she is a teacher 3 of Socorro National High School and a title holder. Ladies and gentlemen, our content editor of Team Caraga, as well as the talent of our video. Let us welcome Ma'am Charmaine Mahumuk.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, Cha.
Okay. Okay. I-appeal pa jud ni Ma'am Lai ang title holder. Okay, unsa nga title? Okay, good afternoon again, everyone. In the previous session with Ma'am Liza and Sir Genesis, you have learned the guidelines and tips in writing the narrative script and motion graphics. So now, and you have also seen our output during the regional webinar on basic video production. So now you have somewhat of an idea of what you're going to make at the end of this webinar. Wait, I'm going to present my PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Makita na, Ma'am Lai?
I'm presenting pa
Yes.
siya. Aw, sa akong end wa pa. Sorry.
Makita na siya.
Makita na. Okay, thank you. Before we begin, we have to understand that one of the most important aspects to consider for producing quality videos for television-based instruction is the ability of the content editor and the scriptwriter to develop the content. Both should be able to organize the content logically or in a progressive way to make the content more conceptually related and more meaningful. So during this session, I will discuss two topics. First is the discussion on the different guidelines in developing the content, and the second one is on how to make video lessons inclusive to cater different types of learners. So in the video presented by Sir Genesis a while ago, how do we make a video like that? So these are the guides in developing the content for your video lessons. Now we have our session objectives. Number one is to define chunking of the content. So what is chunking of the content? Number two, identify the various organizational strategies. Number three, explain various theories to consider regarding chunking of the content. And then we have number four, discuss how to create inclusive videos. So how do we develop our content? Now let's take a look at the image in your screens. In the image, you see a pineapple. And for us to be able to enjoy eating the pineapple, of course, una, we have to peel it and then slice it into chunks. The same is true with creating instructional materials and creating video lessons. If we introduce large chunks of information to our learners, this information might choke them. So katulad ng pineapple, dapat is-slice muna natin yung pineapple before natin siya kakainin para mas ma-appreciate natin yung taste. Kasi kapag large chunks of information yung ibibigay natin sa ating mga learners, there is a tendency that it will choke them. But if we introduce information in bite-sized pieces, learners would be able to digest them, thus making the information meaningful to them. Therefore, when we develop our content, we have to chunk it. So basically, ito lang yung dapat tatandaan. To develop our content, we have to chunk it. So now we have what we call the chunking of the content. So we have here George A. Miller. He is one of the founders of cognitive psychology and a pioneer who recognized that the human mind can be understood using an information processing model. He also formulated the chunking concept in 1956. George A. Miller identified a problem that our working memory is limited in capacity. He said that the working memory could only hold 7 chunks of information at once. So 7 chunks of information lang yung na-hold ng ating memory or yung ating mind or brain at once. This is why when you make PowerPoint presentations, it is always better to only have up to 7 lines. I've learned this in college through our professor. Sabi niya, dapat yung PowerPoint presentations natin hindi susobra ng 7 lines because our mind or our brain can only take up to 7 digits of information at a time. Also, have you noticed that our cellular numbers, kapag tinanggal natin yung area code, we only have 7 digits. This is based on George A. Miller's theory. Nga 7 chunks of information lang yung nare-receive or na-hold ng mind natin at a time. Along with other cognitive researchers, Miller stated that the capacity of working memory depends on the type of information and the features of the information. Now, Miller's theory is very important in understanding how we should organize and develop our content. This is why, in order for us to create and develop quality video lessons for television-based instruction, we should be able to chunk the content. Now, the question is, what is chunking the content? And most importantly, ito yung pinaka-importante talaga, how do we chunk the content? So we have here chunking of the content. Content chunking is the process of breaking down information into shorter, bite-sized pieces that are more manageable and easier to remember. Because we all know that our learners have a limited capacity in their short-term memory. So chunking is a useful technique for designing words. We are committing to the working memory of our learners. Now, what are the characteristics of the working memory? Now, let me show you a short video about the information processing theory. So this is George A. Miller's information processing theory. Let me play the video. It's not playing. Okay. So the information processing theory is based on the principle that our mind is like a computer. The short-term memory is the processor and the long-term memory is the hard drive. So that's it. And then short-term memory is what you are aware. Sorry. Okay, again. Click natin. So again, your short-term memory is the processor and the long-term memory is the hard drive. And then short-term memory is what you're aware of at this very second. So if you're watching this video, my voice right now and the picture screen is in your short-term memory. On average, you can hold about 7 digits of information in your short-term memory. So basically, the capacity. And so let's try to break it. Detect in your environment. Sensory memory for visual information is what we call iconic, while sensory memory for audio information is echoic memory. Now, sensory memory goes through a filter called selective retention that removes an important information from your environment. And then it moves through your shorter memory. So in the selective attention, tinatanggal niya yung mga unimportant things, unimportant stuff. So yung nafi-filter lang yung mga importante and it is stored in your shorter memory. Now, in your short-term memory, the memory that you have there goes to your long-term memory through the process called encoding. And then from there, you can bring it back, the memory from your long-term memory, you can bring it back to consciousness through the process called retrieval. So if a learner's working memory is full, the excess information is lost. So it simply disappears. It means that if you are explaining something complex and the learner must hold several factors in mind to understand it, you'll need to chunk information into bite-sized pieces. Sa klase nga natin, in our 1-hour class, some of our learners do not even go through the entire lesson. After 10 or 15 minutes, nawawala na yan ng ganang makinig, especially if you're doing a lecture type of discussion. How much more if we're going to do it in a television-based instruction na wala yung teacher physically, hindi niya kasama yung teacher, nanonood lang siya ng TV. Ang daming distractions. So dapat alam natin kung paano mag-chunk content para natin. So here are 4 steps in chunking the content. Number 1 is start at the highest level. Number 2, step 2, modules into lessons into topics. And then step 3, chunk at the screen level. And step 4, do a very first step. Chunking strategy when determining the content hierarchy of a course using organizational strategies. So we have chunks of conceptually related concepts. Cut it into modules. This part here, this one is subject. So we chunk it into modules. And then how subject into modules. So this is where organizational strategies come in, because you will use these organizational strategies to chunk your modules. And there are several organizational strategies that will help you chunk broad subjects into smaller bite-sized information. Now, here are the different types of organizational strategies. First, we have the alphabetical, the categorical, cause and effect, inherent structure, order of importance, simple to complex, sequential, spiral, subordinate to higher level, and whole to parts. So, pwede nitong gamitin para mag-chunk ng content nyo. So, from yung example natin kanina, English 8, you will chunk the English 8 subjects into modules using these organizational strategies. So, let us discuss these strategies. We have the alphabetical. So, a conventional but important organizing principle for content is alphabetical order, because most people learn how to use alphabetical order in childhood. It's nearly intuitive. So, alphabetical order allows. Now, we have the categorical. Some content has a flat structure. There is no hierarchy. So, kung walang hierarchy, ito yung gagamitin mo, yung categorical. No sequence, and of all the topics are more or less at the same level of difficulty with no prerequisites. In this case, you can use this, the categorical organizational strategy, to organize the content by category in a non-linear structure. For example, content can be organized all of the editing functions in a word processor, in a Word document, or by products. Example is information about cell phones with high-end cameras. So that is for the categorical. Now we have the cause and effect. This is when you organize content by cause and effect. This may not be the first approach you think of, the cause and effect, because usually we go for the categorical and alphabetical. But it can be effective when used for the right purpose. When the content presents problems and solutions, then a cause and effect structure is appropriate. Example, a course on troubleshooting a network for IT professionals could be arranged by problems and solutions. And then we have the inherent structure. Often, content has its own structure that is cognitively natural to the subject. If the content presents events in a timeline, then a chronological order is self-evident. If the content revolves around various geographical areas, then organization by location is natural. An example of this one is a course in teaching agriculture extension agents about soil could be organized by soil layers starting with the topsoil. Now we have another one is the order of importance. Okay, where is that? In a flat structure without hierarchy, the most effective approach for organizing content might be the order of importance because learners usually pay the most attention to the beginning and end of a topic. You have quite a few options for arranging the content. So in our video lesson, we will discuss this later, but we have what we call the prime time, prime time 1, the downtime, and then the prime time 2. So in the order of importance, you have to consider which information is most important and least important so that you can put the most important information first because that's when the attention of the students are of a high degree. And then the least important, you put it during the downtime. Now we will discuss that further later on. And the next is the simple to complex. This is self-explanatory from simple concepts to complex concepts. And then we have the sequential. When you're presenting a process or a procedure, it's often most effective to structure the content as a series of steps. So there are steps here. And then we have spiral. It is appropriate for a curriculum like our K-12 curriculum. It's a spiral curriculum. It is somehow like that. And then we have the subordinate to higher level. It's when the content requires that a learner master subordinate skills or knowledge to advance to a higher level skill. And then we have the whole to parts. This is an excellent approach to organizing content. It's when you introduce the big picture or the system view first and then delve into the parts of the system. This is actually what we use in chunking our subject because you cut it, you introduce the whole system or the bigger picture and then you chunk it into subcategories. Okay. Now for our step 2. So the step 2 is that from your modules, you are going to have modules into lessons into topics. So from there, you are going to continue the process of chunking. So from modules, you chunk the content to lessons. And then from lessons into topics. So you have to divide modules into smaller related chunks. And these will become your lessons. And then you continue with this process until content is broken down to the topic level. As you become more familiar with the content, fine-tune the internal structure. Now, you may be wondering if it is really necessary for you to chunk the content into the topic level. Well, the answer to that is that depends on how heavy the content of the module is. Usually, you have to divide your modules into 1 to 2 objectives. So, maximum na po yung 2 objectives per video lesson. That is why, tama po yung sabi ni Ma'am Liza kanina sa discussion niya, yung modules po natin, pwede po yung magkaroon ng 2 to 3 video lessons. Kasi icha-chunk po natin yung ating module. So, we will cut it into lessons and then chunk it into topics. So, dapat yung video lessons ninyo, meron lang pong 1 to 2 objectives. Kasi 20 minutes lang po, hindi po kaya if sobra ng 2 objectives yung ating video lessons. Now, these 2 objectives, yung dalawang objectives nyo na nakuha, na na-chunk nyo sa modules nyo, na ginawa nyong lessons, tapos ginawa nyong topics, kung heavy talaga yung lesson, kung hindi kayang gawa ng dalawang objectives lang yung lesson, so you will chunk it again into topics. Script and your production script. So again, kagaya ng sabi ni Ma'am Liza kanina, dapat we are familiar with the MELC and we are familiar with our modules. Next. We have the step 3, chunk at the screen level. So kung kanina, that's for the narrative script and the production, kung nakikita mo na yung video. Chunking at the screen level, when you already have your chunk module, so tapos na yung, for example, yung English 8, chinunk mo na into modules. Tapos yung modules, chinunk mo pa into lessons with 1 or 2 objectives. Kapag meron ka na nun, and then you already wrote a narrative script, you also have to chunk at the screen level. Now, what does this mean? The guidance is that one screen should present one conceptually related idea. In other words, you should not overwhelm the learner with multiple information in one screen. So how do you do that? Paano natin gagawin na hindi maraming information yung ilalagay natin sa bawat screen? Depending on how you design, this could be at the topic level, at the detailed learning objective level, or at the concept level. As a guiding rule, avoid introducing multiple topics, learning objectives, or concepts at one time. So yun yung chunk at the screen level. So just remember the guiding principle or the guiding rule, which is do not introduce multiple topics in one screen. So kagaya ng nakita nyo kanina, intro pa lang, actually intro pa yun, yung video na which was presented by Sir Genesis, yung intro, walang hindi mo, we didn't put too much text in the video, yung kaya lang i-digest ng mga learners natin. So, avoid introducing multiple topics or learning objectives at one time. Now we have the next step. Do a working memory check. So we will go back to the information processing theory of George A. Miller. Throughout this process, think in terms of learners' working memory. Do you really need to include all the content you have in front of you? Or if not, then get rid of extraneous content. Huwag mo nang isama yung mga hindi importante. Yung ilalagay mo lang sa video lesson mo is yung most important things na kailangan matutunan ng mga learners dun sa video lesson mo. This is based, what I said a while ago is based on the contention that less is more. Always consider the question, will the chunk of content require the learner to hold more than a few things in memory at one time in order to understand it? If so, then break it down again. So you have to check the working memory. Sa step 4 natin, you have to go back to consider the working memory of our learners. Na dapat, again, yung information processing theory ni George A. Miller na meron lang tayong 7 chunks of information. We can hold 7 chunks of information at one time. So we have to consider that. It is said that less visuals and text in multimedia courses lessen the demands on working memory. So wag masyadong maraming graphics sa isang screen. Dahan-dahanin natin yung pagprepresent ng ating mga information sa ating video lessons. Now, wrapping up na to sa ating sa ating 4 steps. So we have here your course. So sabihin na natin, kasi yung na-assign na modules for Siargao Division is Filipino 8. So sabihin na natin this one is Filipino 8, yung course natin or yung subject natin. And then you divide the subject into modules. Inilagay ko dito 2 lang, but you can have, of course, there are so many modules per quarter in the Filipino 8 subject. So as you chunk it into modules 1 and module 2. So then from module 1, i-chunk mo pa yan into lessons. So we have lesson 1, lesson 2. Again, bawat lesson natin ay mayroon lang dapat 1 to 2 objectives. And then yung lesson natin, chunk again into screens. So we have screen 1. Ano yung information na ilalagay mo sa screen 1? Ano yung pwedeng i-present mo dun? And then we have screen 2, screen 3. So it's the same way with the other ones from sa module 2, lesson 1, lesson 2. We have different screens. Now, let's proceed to the factors to consider in chunking the content. So earlier, we have 4 steps in chunking the content. Now, we also have 3 factors to consider in chunking our content. The first one is the attention span. The second one is the primacy and recency effect. And the third one is the capacity of the working memory. Now, let us first have the attention span. Always consider the attention span of your learners. Remember that attention span is always equated with age. So, dapat natin yung tandaan. The older the learner, the higher the attention span. So, kaya nga yung mga kids, yung mga 7 years old below, they have their attention span is on the lower level. Kaya nga dapat yung teacher sa elementary, they should create instruction na entertaining and yung hindi mawawala yung attention ng mga estudyante. And this is also what we're going to do with our video lessons. Now again, I have to remind you that small chunks, students chew. Large chunks, it could choke the students. So small chunks of information, the students will chew this. And then the large chunks, the tendency is it will choke your students. Now, for the primary and recency effect, the tendency to recall earlier concepts is called the primary effect. And the tendency to recall later concepts is called the recency effect. So, sabi, according to psychology, the first information that you receive and the last information that you receive, those information are the ones that will be retained in your memory. Now, here is the retention in a 20-minute learning episode. So, dahil gagawa kayo ng 20-minute learning video or video lesson, ito yung ating tinatawag na retention. So, we have here the 20 minutes and then prime time 2. No, ito na yon. Prime time 1. Ito yung ating prime time 1 is from 0 to, I think that is 12 minutes. And then, meron tayong downtime. And then, babalik sa prime time. Time in minutes, which is okay. And as you can see, the part where there is greater retention. So see, kita nyo, there is greater retention in prime time 1. This is the time that your learner's attention is solely focused to you, and they can easily grasp and remember what you are saying. So that's from 0 to 12 minutes. Now, what does this imply to the content editors and script writers? So, unsa man dajon kung mauni si ag kuan kani primetime 1. Now, this tells us that during the primetime 1, we must present in our video the concept and skills that we need to discuss to our learners. The most important concept and skills that we need to discuss to our learners, dapat nandito yan sa primetime 1. Kasi yung degree of retention ng mga estudyante, high pa, mataas pa. Now, after the 12 minutes, the degree of retention slows down. This is what we call now the downtime. So after the 12 minutes, during this part of our video, we need to present icebreakers or activities in order for the learners not to lose attention. It's really true. This representation is really true when it comes to actually not just in video lessons, but also in live interaction. For example, dun sa klase natin, yung mga estudyante natin, nakikinig yan 0 to 10 or 0 to 12 minutes. After that, nawawala yung attention nila. And that is how our minds are wired. That's how our minds are wired. So we have the downtime. So pag nandun na tayo sa downtime, you have to present icebreakers or activities in order for the learners not to lose attention. And this is the part when learners apply the concepts learned in prime time. Ito na yung mga gawain. Gawain 1, gawain 2, para mapukaw yung mga yung attention ng learners. Now, after the downtime, the retention span goes back up, but not as high as the primetime 1. So in primetime 2, the retention span, it goes back up. Is an opportunity for us to let our learners reflect on what they have learned and bring closure to the lesson or give an agreement. So dito muna, iprepresenta kung anong agreement in your assignment, and then you wrap up the lesson, and then paalam ka na rin dito. So you bid farewell to your learners. This is a sample. So ito yung sample ng 20-minute video episode adhering to the end recency effect. So you have prime time, downtime, and then prime time 2. The most important concepts should be discussed or explained or presented during the prime time 1. In downtime, you have your icebreakers and activities because the learners are slowly losing their attention. And then for the prime time 2, this is where you give an agreement, or this is where you bid farewell or wrap up the lesson, and then you bid farewell to your learners. And then the last one to consider in chunking the content is the capacity of the working memory. Katulad rin dun sa ating step 4, now we have to do a working memory check. So if a learner's working memory is full, the excess information is lost and it simply disappears. So I have here a representation. This is a sponge. So if in order for the sponge, if the sponge is full of water, if it has already absorbed too much water, the excess water will spill. So it's the same with our learner's mind and even our minds. So kapag sobra na yung information na binibigay mo, ipinipresenta mo sa iyong learners during one setting, in your video lesson, yung ibang information, kapag hindi na niya kaya, yung mind niya, hindi na niya kayang i-retain yung mga nakikita niya or naririnig niya, then the information will disappear. Other information will disappear. Hindi lahat makukuha ng learners. So we have to consider the capacity of the working memory. It means that if you are explaining something complex and the learner must hold several factors in mind to understand it, you'll need to chunk information into bite-sized pieces. Again, we should chunk our content. Now, how many elements are we going to give our learners in order for them to understand the concept? So we have here a table showing the capacity of the working memory of our learners in chunks. So we have age, and then the capacity of working memory in number of chunks, minimum, maximum, and average. So for 5 years old and younger, minimum chunks of information is that can be stored in the working memory is 1. And then we have the maximum 3, and then average of 2 chunks of information. That's for 5 years old and younger. Tapos pag dito naman sa 5 and 14 years old, yung minimum is 3 and then maximum of 7 and then average of 5. Now for 14 years old and older, so dito siguro tayo sa 14 years old dahil our assigned module is for the Filipino 8. So 14 years old and older, minimum of 5 chunks of information that can be stored in the working memory. Maximum is 9 and the average is 7. So dapat yun lang yung amount of or chunk of information na i-present natin sa ating mga estudyante sa ating video lesson by screen time. Of course, we have the objective for proper setting. Hindi dapat natin kalimutan i-present kung ano yung mga layunin or objectives ng video lessons natin. Dapat nandun yun sa video. And then we have giving an overview of the expected outputs. So dapat nakalagay rin yan sa prime time 1. And then presenting the lesson or the concept development. So dito na i-present sa prime time 1. Dapat time, na-lose naman nag-interest sa mga estudyante kaya nag-downtime naman sila, possibly dili na sila mamati kaadyo. So, waya nay, dapat na adiha sa 0 to 12 minutes ang imong i-present mo imong concepts or you discuss the skills and the concepts that the students or learners should learn. And now in the downtime, we have here practicing use of the new information. This is from 13 minutes to 14 minutes. So dito na ipapractice mo yan dito sa downtime para mas ma-alert sila. So in your video, dapat, so kaya nga yung script ninyo dapat conversational. Para dun sa downtime na, para kang nakikipag-usap dun sa mga learners nyo. Kasi mas nakukuha yung attention ng mga learners natin kapag para tayong nakikipag-usap sa kanila, hindi yung parang nagle-lecture tayo. It's a conversational type of discussion. And this is also where you give feedback. Meron din tayo ditong mga icebreakers or game, different activities na connected sa Primetime 1. And then from 15 to 20 minutes, we have the Primetime 2. This is where you synthesize what students learned or applied. Kagaya na sabi ko kanina, this is where you wrap up your lesson or you generalize. Summarizing Primetime 1 and downtime, and then reflecting on the lesson. This is also where you give assignment or agreement, and then you bid farewell. Na yun, magsisay bye ka na. Makikita nyo sa output namin kung paano kami nagpaalam sa mga estudyante. Papakita namin yung output namin, later output. So let me sum up this topic by saying na effective learning always begins and ends with the content and its assessment. Always has. Wala, hindi na ganun na talaga yun. Begins and ends with the content and its assessment. Not the latest technology, not the latest anagram, but good content for effective learning. The truth is, if you match to effective motivational assessment, it won't matter. No, dili mo matter nga you use the coolest graphics, amazing na imong mga graphics, naglupad-lupad na dito, and then you use the latest technology. Kay without good chunk content, the learning gains when matched to learning objectives will be minimal. So for effective learning to happen, you always have to have a good content, good chunk content, so that learning will be meaningful. Okay, so that ends the first discussion, which is the guidelines in creating or developing your content. I hope you learned something from it. Sir Ran? Hello?
Uh,
Sir Ran? Do we have
okay.
to entertain questions first before I proceed to the next discussion? Or
Okay,
proceed?
we'll have to siguro proceed with your next topic before ang Q&A.
Okay, sige ma'am. Thank you, Ma'am Lai.
Okay, or we will have a few minutes for CR break for our participants.
Okay. Okay,
And
Ma'am
for
Lai.
you also, let's have a 2-minute break. So for our teachers, we'll have teacher participants will have 2 minutes break or a 2-minute break before Charmaine will proceed with the next topic.
Ma'am Lai? Ma'am Liza?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Randy.
Ma'am Charmaine is requan. Tapos na po si Ma'am Charmaine.
Naapay last topic, Charmaine, sir.
Okay.
Another topic. So we have our 2-minute break before she can proceed with the next one.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we have 5 minutes health break
Okay, 5
before
minutes.
we will proceed to the next topic of Ma'am Charmaine. Thank you. Sir Harold.
Absent, sir.
Hi na. Okay, so we are as of this time 64 people na lang ang nakalag-in. And then anong nangyari sa iba? Kanina 80. 74.
Nag-downtime sila,
We
sir.
are checking the attendance at the moment, sir. No worries.
Okay po. Thank you, Ma'am Lai. Sounds anay, Sir Genesis.
Sir Harold, i-play anay ang Zumba ni Sir Isis.
Sige.
And no window stays closed. And love is always sad when it fades. But glass is better stained anyways. If never you find what you're looking for, come on back to the front porch. Say my name to the
Irish, na-actually prepare actually ng Zumba ni Sir Isis.
Whatever you done, it doesn't matter. Cause darling, we know it was better and better, but the hurry is more. What you waiting for? Come on back, come on back to the front. Regard the story, these boys watching life go back and forth. You take it all for granted, and you leave.
Okay, our 5-minute break is up.
And
Sir Genesis,
what you
oh, wow. Okay, thank you, sir. So now, Ma'am Charmaine will proceed with her last topic for today, for this afternoon's discussion. Ma'am Cha, take over, please.
Okay, Ma'am Lai, thank you. Okay. Klaro ng presentation, Ma'am Lai?
Yes, Cha.
Okay, thank
And
you.
then,
Okay, now for our next discussion, we have the creating inclusive videos. So we're done with how to develop your content. Now we're going to discuss how to create inclusive videos. Now, when we say inclusive, meaning your videos should cater to all types of learners. So there should be inclusivity in your videos. Now, how do we do this? Now, you will find that out in this presentation. First, we have another person here. He is Ron Mays. He coined the idea universal design. Now, what is universal design? It is a design and composition of an environment so that it can be accessed, understood, and used to the greatest extent possible by all people. So, inclusivity is yung kay Ron Mays na theory, dito papasok yung inclusivity. Kasi gagawa tayo ng design or composition na that can cater to all people, to all types of people. And we are going to use this theory in creating our inclusive video. Now, in creating inclusive videos, now before that, I have here a quotation from Ron Mays, the proponent of the universal design. He said that before we try to do something, we should consider the needs of the broadest possible range of users from the very beginning. So from the start of a design or a composition, or in our case, our video lessons, from the start of our video lessons until the end, we should put in mind the needs of the broadest possible range of users. Dapat proactive tayo dun. Alam natin na merong mga learners with disabilities na manunood ng ating video lessons. So we should be able to cater to them also. And we have learners who come from indigenous people, who are part of indigenous people's groups. So you also have to cater to those learners. So from the very beginning, you have to consider that there are different types of learners, there are different types of people. So your videos, your video lessons should be inclusive. Now, we have the content and access. In creating inclusive videos, we are going to consider two concepts. We have the basic expectations. Is the content accurate? So we have to ask ourselves, content editors and script writers, is the content accurate? Meaning, is it correct? Are we discussing the correct concepts, the correct lessons to our learners? Is it free from grammatical errors? the content should be accurate spelling mistakes. Are there no spelling mistakes? So in your video, dapat nire-review nyo yung video ninyo na dapat sakto, tama yung content na i-present. So that's the first thing that we have to ask ourselves as content editors and scriptwriters. And then the next one is the member of the team an authority of the subject? Ito yung nangyari sa amin sa regional webinar. Kasi yung assigned module, kaya nasabi ko kanina sa Siargao, is Philippine scriptwriter. We're not Filipino majors. Hello? Director request to turn off your microphones. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Okay na. Thank you. And is the member of the team an authority of the subject? So nung gumawa kami ng output for the regional webinar, na-shock kami kasi we're both English majors, tapos Filipino yung pinagawa. So, yung question na to, is the member of the team an authority of the subject, hindi na namin na-answer ng tama. Kasi hindi kami ni Ma'am Liza, hindi kami Filipino majors. Buti na lang yung aming focal person, who is Sir Randy Rodela, is the education program supervisor in Filipino. So, pina-check namin sa kanya yung ginawa naming narrative script and production script para mas credible kasi authority siya dun sa subject. So dapat isang member ng team or yung members ng team knows about the subject very well. So when we say he or she is an authority, he or she knows about the subject well. So we have to consider these basic expectations in order to create inclusive videos. Now, for the content, your content should address diversity in creating content. We all know that we have diverse learners. Lahat yata ng klase ng learners nandun na in our classroom setting, parang nandun na lahat yung type of learners. So if we're going to create a video, we have to ask ourselves, am I presenting my video for only one aspect of the society, or am I presenting the video to all aspects of the society? Yung mga learners natin kasi, different learning styles, different multiple intelligences. So we have to consider that in creating our content for the video or our video itself. So address diversity in creating content. So meron tayo ditong yung diversity wheel. This one is our diversity wheel. So we have to consider the age, physical abilities, the gender, race, ethnicity. So ito yung iba't ibang considerations that we have to put in mind bago tayo gumawa ng video lessons. Dapat makater natin to sila lahat. Dapat wala tayong nasasagasaan na isang type of learner na iniwan natin, or that's why it says no learner should be left behind. Pati yung mga may physical disabilities, yung may mga learning disabilities, dapat i-cater din natin sila. So your video lesson should cater to all types of learners. And then we should stay away from stereotypes. Our videos should stay away from stereotyping. We should not stereotype. Pag sinabi nating, for example, pag sinabi nating babae, mas malinis sa katawan kaysa sa lalaki. Ganon. Which is one example of stereotyping. Pag sinabi nating lalaki, mas malakas physically kaysa sa babae. When in fact, there are women who are also physically stronger than men, na nagiging equal na sila. So we should avoid stereotyping. And also this one, there is an idea, a stereotype na nagsasabi na yung mga nasa syudad, mga mayayaman. Tapos yung mga nasa probinsya ay hindi, walang masyadong pera. And even in the way of speaking, especially the English language, they say, some stereotypes say that the people in cities, they speak better English, they are fluent in English rather than the people in the provinces. When in fact, there are a lot of people in the provinces who can speak fluent English. So we should stay away from these stereotypes. Next, so we should ask ourselves, are the characters diverse in their culture, ethnicity, language, gender, age, social classes, physical features, sexual orientation, and ability? So ito yung tatandaan natin. Dapat yung mga characters na ilalagay natin sa ating video lessons ay diverse. For example, yung ginawa namin na output in our production script, when we wrote our production script, meron dong mga graphics. Example is yung how to interview. Paano ka, mga dapat tandaan kung paano i-interviewin ang isang tao. So we have graphics na nagpapakita kung ano yung mga dapat tandaan. And our characters there, ginawa naming diverse. Una, merong isang batang lalaki na fair yung complexion ng skin. Tapos sa susunod naman, meron kaming Muslim girl. Tapos sa susunod, meron kaming character na dark skin. Tapos meron din kaming character na curly hair. Yung hair niya ay kulot. That is to make your videos inclusive. Hindi lang dapat isang type of character lang. So our characters that we should put in our video lessons should be diverse in their culture, ethnicity, language, gender, age, social classes, and all of that. Now, so what should we create? So ano yung gagawin natin? Authentic visual representation of culturally and ethnically diverse characters, environment, and experiences. So merong dapat iba't ibang klase ng environment or experiences in your video lessons. Authentic. Dapat real, authentic visual representation. Meron kasing iba't ibang, for example, in the Philippines, we are a diverse country. Marami tayong ethnic races. So, dapat nakikater din yun dun sa gagawin nating videos. Okay, this one, our resource speaker in the region, Sir Tam, said that during the webinar, the national webinar, yung mga taga-UP, yung mga resource speakers nila, mga taga-UP, ang module daw na ito, nung isinubmit, when they submitted this one, hindi diverse yung pagkakagawa ng mga characters. Ito daw, yung dito, wala daw tong naka-wheelchair, wala daw dark skin, puro lang daw fair complexion. There are also no diversity in religion. Tapos wala rin daw mga indigenous people. So ginawa nila is they modified it. They modified this module at ito na yung nangyari. So see, we have different characters in this one. So na-cater natin yung lahat ng types of people. May that be age or gender, their social background, their religious background. So yan, ito na yung tama na to. Ito na yung appropriate na characters na dapat nasa video lessons natin. And another example is this one. Yung mga churches na inilagay daw dito is wala daw mosque. So yung church ng mga Muslims. So minodify nila at nilagyan nila ng different kinds of churches in the Philippines. So yun yung dapat rin natin gawin sa ating video lesson. Now, we have reminder for using indigenous content. Kasi sabi natin kanina, yung video lesson natin, dapat kikater din siya sa indigenous people. Now, what should we consider in using indigenous content? Number one is a member of the team and authority of the subject. So katulad rin yung kanina, we should also ask this, meron bang someone from the team na authority doon sa subject? Katulad na lamang nung ginagawa pa namin yung aming production script, gusto sana namin yung mga salitang lalawiganin ay lalagyan namin ng image sa video namin. Meron dapat image ng isang tao or isang character from that region kung saan kinuha yung salitang lalawiganin na yon. For example, in Bicol. So we wanted, the scriptwriter and we wanted to put a character na nakasuot ng regional costume ng Bicol. But hindi na namin pinagpatuloy kasi naisip namin, hindi namin alam kung ano yung, hindi kami eksperto, hindi kami authority kung ano yung regional outfits ng mga tao sa Bicol. Di ba? Kaysa masajupta, ajawrakan. So, mauna nga, we should always consider na meron dapat authority of the subject when using indigenous content. Okay, next one. Are the experiences age appropriate for the target audience? It's the same with in our classroom setting na dapat yung ating mga lessons age appropriate. Pag sinabi natin, kasi may mga lessons na hindi pwede sa 14 years old and below, hindi yan maiintindihan. Based on experience, iba yung mga lesson. The way I deliver my lesson to my grade 7 students is not the same with the way I deliver my lesson to my meron kasi akong senior high noon, to my senior high students. So, kasi yung grade 7 and grade 8, parang masyadong bata pa yun. Tapos yung mga nandun na sa grade 10 at sa senior high, iba na yung kanilang perception of the world, and maybe they also have, meron silang iba't ibang knowledge, mas marami silang alam kaysa dun sa mga grade 8 and grade 7. So, dapat yung ating video lesson ay age appropriate. Next. Was the universal design for learning a part of the learning process? So ito yung dapat natin ring tandaan. We have to consider that our learners have different learning preferences. So some kinesthetic, some visual, some tactile. Therefore, we should consider flexible and multiple means of representation. So meron dapat tayong universal design. Yung video lesson natin ay naka-anchor sa universal design for learning. So our learners also have motivation levels. And so again, we have to create multiple means of motivating our learners. And this should be translated into your video lesson. So again, we should consider flexible and multiple means of representation so that we can cater to all types of learners. Now this one, the universal design for learning. So we have here 3 concepts. We have the recognition networks, the strategic networks, and the affective networks. The recognition networks is the what of learning. So how we gather facts and categorize what we see, hear, and read, identifying letters, words. So present information and content in different ways. So this one is principle number 1, provide multiple means of representation. And then we have the strategic networks, the how of learning. This is the planning and performing the tasks. And then we have the affective networks, the why of learning. So how learners get engaged and stay motivated, how they are challenged, excited, or interested. These are affective dimensions. So in recognition networks, or recognizing the networks, we have the principle, provide multiple means of representation. And in strategic networks, we We have principle 2, provide multiple means of action and expression because it is the how of learning. And then we have the effective networks. We will follow the principle number 3, provide multiple means of engagement because this is the why of learning. So that is the universal design for learning. Now, we have the access. So kanina, content yun, tapos dito yung access. In this one, we have to consider different abilities. So how do we consider the different abilities? The first one is we use simple colors. Now, there are learners, visually impaired learners na sakit sa mata nila yung ibang colors. That is why in our video lessons, we should use simple colors. Wag rin yung too bright, tapos wag yung sobrang daming colors sa isang screen ng inyong video. I-avoid po natin yon. Kasi meron tayong mga learners na na-trigger doon sa mga colors. One example is yung nanood ng, it was, I think binalita yun noon, nung may isang movie, may part sa isang movie na, the Twilight, the last installment of Twilight, na nanood yung tao dun sa sinihan, sa cinema, and then there was a part in the movie na parang nagblink-blink yung screen. I think that was when, kung napanood nyo yung Twilight, yung last installment, yung last part, yung, I think pagpanganak na ni Bella Swan, kalimutan ko yung character, nagfa-flash yung screen. Tapos na-trigger yung kanyang seizure. Ayun, dinala sa hospital and then namatay siya. Yes, it's a true story. So we should consider that. That is why we should use simple colors. And then wag masyadong maraming colors. Yung primary colors, okay na yun in your video. Don't put too much colors and then use simple colors. Next one. Use a font with high color contrast and readable font size. So ito, in the left one here, hindi kita, di ba? Kasi gumamit ka ng orange, tapos yung font mo rin ay color orange. So hindi siya makikita. That is why you have to use contrast, high color contrast, like this one. So we have here pink, yung kanyang background. I think this is may pagka-pale pink. Tapos, yung kanyang font naman, yung kanyang text ay black, yung color ng font, yung kanyang text. So, merong contrast. So, we can use the color wheel for this, primary, secondary colors. And then, of course, the font size should be readable. Dapat rin natin yung i-consider na merong mga TV, kasi television-based instruction tayo, merong mga TV na hindi flat screen, tapos hindi malalaking TV, yung maliliit lang. Dapat i-consider natin yun na our learners, possibly they're watching from a small screen. So dapat yung inyong font size, kahit na small screen yung ginagamit, makikita pa rin, mababasa pa rin. So dapat alam din natin yun. Consider din natin yun. Next. Don't underline words. Yes, wag natin i-underline yung words. And then use italics or write in capitals. Instead of underlining words, you use italics or you write in capitals. Avoid underlining words. And then, avoid using serif fonts. Ano ba yung mga serif fonts? Ito yung may mga kuwit. This one. Ito. Serifs on the ends. Kasi serif means tail. So, merong tails yung inyong font style. So, avoid using these fonts. Anong mga example nito? Teka lang. And then, so you should use no serifs or sans serif na mga font. Katulad ng, ito, yung ginamit ko dito, this one is Century Gothic. So, this is a sans serif font kasi wala siyang tail. So, wala siyang tail sa ends. Kasi serif means, again, as I said a while ago, serif means tail. So, wala siyang kuwit. Siyan. Okay, next. Write in plain English. Now, if your if your assigned lesson is English or math or science, which use the English as the medium of instruction, you have to write in plain English. Don't use idioms or figures of speech kasi hindi lahat alam kung anong ibig sabihin ng mga idioms na yan at mga figures of speech na yan. So don't use them. And then prefer simple words. As much as possible, dun tayo sa pinakasimple. Kasi yung video lessons natin, they are the companion of our learners in going through their self-learning modules. Para mas maintindihan nila, para it's like a guide. Kasi wala tayo, teacher. Hindi natin mag-guide yung ating mga learners in doing their modules. So this one, your video lessons will be a companion for the learners in answering or in going through their modules. So you should prefer using simple words. And then use everyday English whenever possible. Kanang pinakasimple, kajud nga, in English. Kanang pang elementary, kung pwede pang elementary nga English, you use that. And then be concise, beat around the bush na diretsohin natin kung ano yung ating gustong ipahiwatig, yun na yun. Now, in our case, because Division of Siargao is assigned to the Filipino 8, so we will use the Filipino medium of instruction. Pero it's the same. The same concept applies whether we use the English language or the Filipino language. Pareho lang. Don't use idioms or figures of speech. Wag gumamit. And then we will use simple words and then be concise. It's the same if we use Filipino language. Okay. The next one, use simple sentences and bullets. Katulad kanina, sabi, prefer simple words. So ito naman, prefer simple sentences. Yung ating narrative script, it's in the active voice. So para mas madali siyang maintindihan. So simple sentences and then use bullets para mas klaro. Mas hindi siya ka ng jagaw, tanawon. Dali ra ma-organize. It can be easily organized. Madali siyang ma-organize ng mga learners. And then we have don't create a wall of text like this one on the right side of your screen. No, don't use that. That's a wall of text. Even if that's an infographic, there's just too many words and too many information. Hindi kaya na i-digest ng learner yan. If ilalagay mo yan sa isang screen ng inyong video lesson, hindi yan kayang i-digest ng inyong learner. Makakalimutan ng iba. Konti lang yung ma-retain yan sa kanyang memory. So avoid that. Don't create a wall of text. As much as possible, we simplify our graphics, our texts, and our images. Okay, next. Use images and diagrams to support text, of course. Para mas madaling maintindihan ng mga mag-aaral, we have to support our videos, what we are. So if the teacher is saying this, for example, the water cycle, the teacher is explaining the water cycle, there should also be a support image in that screen. So sa screen natin, nandiyan si teacher, nagdi-discuss siya ng water cycle. Tapos sa gilid niya should be the image of the water cycle. Mas maganda nga if this is motion graphics. Kaya man siguro ni sa mga motion graphics artist nato, motion graphics designer nga, ma-move na siya. Mas gana if there is motion in our picture. Especially for this one, this topic, the water cycle, it's better if it's moving. So if this is a motion graphics rather than an image or 2D image. So there. And then we have give users enough time to complete an action. For example, in our output, meron kami doon sabi na ngayon, kunin ang inyong mga modules para sa ating gawain. So of course, hindi ka time allotment para yung mga students mo, kukunin nila yung kanilang modules or yung sabi namin na isulat sa inyong kwaderno ang petsa sa upper right corner ng inyong papel at ikatlong markahan. Yun. Dapat bigyan mo yun bago ka mag-proceed to the next mo na sasabihin, dapat bibigyan mo ng time allotment yung mga learners to write what you just ask them to write. So yun. Give users enough time to complete an action. And also, yung binibigay in your video lessons, if you're giving examples, especially if it's tables or yung complex na information, yung maraming information, dapat merong time. So, for example, mawawala si teacher sa screen. I-focus mo yung example ng sinasabi mo. Dapat meron yang enough time para makita ng maayos or ma-digest ng mga estudyante mo kung ano yung pinakita mo na examples. Okay, next. Use subtitles. Provide transcripts and or interpreters. This is what we did with our video. Yung polished na video. Actually, yung regional webinar namin na output, meron kami nung interpreter. Sign language interpreter. We recorded sign language interpreter for that video pero hindi na kaya sa oras. Kaya yung pamanto si Jiang tungkuhan pa ni mga background and ana. So limited yung time namin kasi one day lang yung binigay, so hindi na namin siya na ilagay dun sa video namin. But in our polished video, we invited Sir Rio Gabaysen to be our sign language interpreter so that we can cater to the learners with hearing disabilities. So para makikita nila kung alam nila kung ano yung pinagsasabi namin kahit hindi nila narinig yung pinagsasabi ng teacher kasi meron tayong interpreter, or you can use subtitles. But just make sure yung subtitles correct. No? Okay, sige. Next. Okay. Oh, that is the end of our discussion for creating inclusive videos. Again, yung dapat lang nating tandaan, our video lesson should cater to the different types of learners. Kasi sa iba't ibang learning styles, iba't ibang motivational styles ng ating mga learners, dapat makater natin yun sa ating video lessons. And also, we should follow the universal design. That would be all for this discussion. Thank you so much, and I hope you have learned something and you can apply what you have learned from this discussion in creating your video outputs come September 15. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Cha. Wow, everyone, let us give Ma'am Charmaine a virtual applause for the two topics that she discussed this afternoon. Yay, clap, clap. So now the chair is open for questions. So we are now accepting your questions for the topics that Ma'am Charmaine discussed this afternoon. Kindly message or type your questions on the chat box.
Questions.
We know that you have... Yes, sir.
Before the questions na gi-craft pa sa participants, please allow Dakota ni ma'am.
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay, so before we proceed to our Q&A for the topic of Ma'am Charmaine, at this moment, I know you are very ready to create your own script, but hold on.